Good morning, Robin.
Hey, hi, good morning, Mike.
Hey,
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your invite and having me over at your office today.
Yes, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. Yeah, you have an amazing career path, and I would like to take this opportunity to interview you.
Thank you.
Yes, understand that you have actually moved on from a corporate role over to the entrepreneur role. Yes. So along this path, right, were there any misconception that other people have about you during this transition period?
Definitely. I mean, in any instance when we transit from one career to another, people will always start to ask you and say, hey, what's wrong with your current project, your current career trajectory, right? So I think a lot of times is that you are supposed to be very successful in a corporate environment, and suddenly, and there you are coming out on your own. So the misconception is that you must be have done something not very good, or there must be something that you are coming to me as a client now to ask for a favor for. So I think that is the toughest part when you are starting to transit from one role to another, especially from a corporate to now getting your own clients, because your client will always ask, what's in it for me, and why are you now coming to me instead of not being at your corporate. So I think that to help on these differences and also to reduce the misconception, I think having trust from your clients or your customer, I think is very, very important. Without the trust and their support, to transit from a corporate to a business is going to be very, very difficult. Yeah, that's in my view, yes. Yeah.
Right. Yes. So during this period, right, what gives you the motivation or the courage? I mean, like you were holding a high position, senior management position inside your corporate role. What gives you that motivation and courage to step out of your comfort zone and over to this unknown water?
Well, I guess importantly is that when I look at the progress that I've made over the last 40 over years, I'm very blessed. I mean, frankly speaking, in my corporate life, I've been blessed with a lot of mentors, I've been blessed with a lot of good bosses, and also I've been blessed with a lot of good colleagues and clients. So I think when I come to a point sometime when I was like 47 years old, I thought that if I were to continue in corporate life, it's very good. I mean, I'm in a very senior role like what you have mentioned. So I think it would be very good for me to just continue and retire. But then again, I ask myself this question every day as I continue to work, right? I mean, so I ask myself this question whether, do I want to do the same thing every day for the rest of my life until I retired? So I think then it came to a moment that I realized that it's good for me to try something new, because for me, I'm always very curious. Like I've mentioned to you, Mike, I mean, I kind of like changed my job every 2 over years or 3 years before, right? I mean, so I have had multiple jobs, I've met multiple people. So I think at that point in time, I just guessed that it's good for me to tap on my network, my friends, my bosses that I know. So I thought it would be also good that I could create something for myself. I think end of the day is that for every entrepreneur, I think we are also a little bit selfish in that sense, is that we always want to have something that we represent us, right? So having this Agile 8 brand with all my partners and my good colleagues that I have actually is a consolidation of what I wanted. I have now I have a company in a way. I have very good colleagues. Right? I know people like you, Mike, right? I know friends, I have a lot of opportunity, which will be much difficult and harder if I would have stayed in a corporate. Because from 9 to 5, I need to make sure that I deliver, and after 5, I'll make sure that I'll do certain strategy for my company. Nothing wrong there's nothing wrong, but it's just that I wanted to do something more for myself after a certain time. So that's the reason why I chose to move from corporate into this entrepreneurship, I guess. Fun.
Right, yes. Just now you mentioned about your company name is called Agile.
Yes.
Right, so, and I noticed that there's also a figure 8.
Yeah.
Yes, so is that some sort of like a feng shui, or how do you actually come up with this name?
Well, I think when I first came out with the name, I was trying to be a little bit more agile. I incorporated the company, as part of my dormant company in 2016. So in 2016, Agile was never a buzzword, right? Then, for me, the whole idea about being Agile is just to be very resourceful, being very adaptable, right? And of course, because again, coming back to the question is that I came from a corporate background. So I told myself, if I want to move on to a new space, I need to be Agile. So that's how this Agile came about. And because after I've incorporated the company, I mean, it was dormant, so I didn't do any business. So just for all my previous employers, I didn't do anything. So this is just my pet company. But then again, in 2019, when I decided to resign and come out from my corporate, so what happened was I was using the word 8 as part of the equation, because 8, like I mentioned to you before, is meant to be inverted. If you invert it, it's meant to be infinity.
Infinity.
Right? Infinity, yes.
Wow.
So I wanted my company to be agile to the infinity, right? So that's the reason why I chose 8 at the back. But of course, there are some other secret which I will tell you off screen why the 8 was devised. But then again, 8 was supposed to meant for being agile to the infinity. That's why you'll see one of the tagline is called Infinite Solutions, right? Infinite. So technically, that ties in nicely to the 8 because it's meant to be infinity.
Thanks for sharing this very meaningful design over your logo.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes. So being agile, right, as you mentioned about it, right, you have to be very resourceful and so on.
Yes.
So when you kickstart your business, what was the biggest challenge that you have faced?
Wow. I think the biggest challenge for a corporate, right, especially for a corporate person who wants to try entrepreneurship, is that you must be prepared to do 3 things. 3 things, very important. First thing, you must be prepared to have a big change in your lifestyle.
Change in lifestyle.
Because to start a business, you really need to take care of the business, not yourself. For me, at least that's for me, right? So you will suffer quite a substantial pay cut. So that's number one. So you need to be very clear that you're going to have a substantial change to your lifestyle. The second thing is that you must also recognize the fact that because you're going to come out on your own, you must be able to do everything yourself. Right, so what it means is that when I first came out, I mean, I sourced for my own office space, right? I negotiated my own lease. I had to set up my computer, laptop. I had to buy the laptop. I had to set up the server, which is a very small server, which we purchased off Harvey Norman, I remember. Yeah. So that was my so-called server, right? And then after that, when you first get your client, then what do? You need to prepare your service agreement. You got to look into the legality of it so that you don't get, I mean, if let's say there is something that happens, at least you get certain recourse over it, right? So you are able to, so you have to draft those things. Then you have to hire. Then I'm very blessed, I got very good colleagues, right? But before I can get them, I need to hire, right? I need to find them. So all this is done by me alone at that point.
Wow.
Yeah, so I guess you have to be very hands-on. Yeah. I think the third most important ingredient is, look at the situation and just don't give up. Sometimes the third ingredient is the most important because sometimes you will hit a very bad patch. Sometimes you will lose clients. Sometimes you lose colleagues. Sometimes you just find that today is just not how it seems to be, or maybe it's not even the day. It can be the week. The whole week can be just not right? So I think we come through that, and then there will be a very low point, and you just think about it and say, what the heck, why don't I just go back to a corporate, right? But then again, as an entrepreneur, once we are out, there is something that we want to prove, which is to make sure that there is something we want to realize. Like I said, there's a little element of being selfish here, but that element is we want to surprise the world, right? We want to surprise our client. So that little element kind of like pushes us. So that's how, from time to time, while you reach a low point, don't give up, you move up again. Then when the high point is that when you see your colleagues smiling, like for example, you saw my new office space that you just expanded another 18 seats. I think these are the little milestone in the life that makes this whole journey worth the while. So I think that's the key takeaway for me.
Right. Yeah. Congrats on the expansion.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Yes. So you mentioned about the ups and downs of the entrepreneurship lifestyle.
Yeah.
Right? Do you see these ups and downs also happening in the corporate world? And how do you actually were there a difference in the comparison on the emotions wise?
Well, this is a very, very good question. I mean, in corporate, right? I mean, end of the day is that when you think about corporate, right? So in corporate, when you are thinking about your work or the low point, you can do 2 things. You can either resign, very simple one, resign, or you can just choose to bite your teeth and continue on. But in an entrepreneurial space, I mean, we cannot give up because we have office lease, we have people to take care, we have clients to also be accountable. But coming back to your question, which in corporate is that there's only two ways. Either you give up or you bite your teeth and continue on. Because to me, being a corporate person and an entrepreneur, frankly speaking, there's no difference. You still work for something. You have a dream that you pursue. And the dream can be either in corporate. I can be a managing director, I can be a CEO, I can be the whatever that I want to do, right? So there's no wrong. Continue your corporate path. You can still achieve what you want and what you dream. In fact, now as I have both sides of the coin, I think sometimes maybe it wasn't that wise a choice. No, I'm just kidding. But then again, like I said, there is people who has calling on being a corporate, and there's people like me who is already in corporate. So there's also a calling to try out entrepreneurship. So there's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
So how do you actually handle your everyday today lifestyle, and then how do you handle your own wellness, your mental wellness and your physical wellness?
Oh, okay. I entertain quite a bit, so I drink a lot. I mean, as we speak, I mean, I just had a very long session last night, right? So as you see in my post, I wrote 2 a.m., right? So that's the reason why it's so long. But then again, to be fair, is that being an entrepreneur, you cannot choose between a balanced lifestyle. You don't have that luxury. That's the key thing. If you want to start a business, you cannot choose to have a very balanced lifestyle, right? So that's one thing. Because you have late nights, you're going to meet a lot of people, you're going to have a lot of things to do. So I think that is very important for us to recognize that. So that's one. So by the way, is that if you have chose that you will not have a very balanced lifestyle, then you have a choice to make the distinction between when I want to wake up, how much I want to do, what I want to do. So I think that is very important for us to understand that when you be healthy, so I have a choice to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, even I sleep at 2 a.m. But I have a choice to wake up at 5, do some running, do some swimming, whatever it is. Right. And I do a 1 hour or 2 hour regime, right? And then after that, I can then come into office early, like this morning 7:30. So I'm in office 7:30, clear my emails, do my things. Then I have the luxury of a lot of time to plan, like for example, to have this wonderful interview from you. Thank you very much again, right? And also, after that, I can schedule all my other appointments. So I'll be meeting like tax advisor, which I'm going to, the tax partner that I'm going to talk to. Then we're going to have a board meeting, which I schedule at 3 later on. And then after that, tonight, I'll be going home to pack, and I'll be flying off 1 o'clock in the morning on Friday morning.
Your schedule is very packed.
Yeah,
Thank you for having me.
So I think importantly is that as an entrepreneur, I mean, to me, again, there's no distinction between the mental health and the physical health. It's all about a choice that we have to make, because when you have work to do, you just have to do the work. You cannot say that, okay, let's put this away and go and run. You can, actually you can. But end of the day is that something will have to give. You can do it once, you can do it twice, but you can't do it all the time. So then again, it's a very physical and very conscious mind that we then choose what we want to do. So just another example is that I may drink until like 11 o'clock sometimes at night, right? So I drink, but I don't normally eat that much. When I drink, I don't eat that much. So I think that is, in a way, it helps to counter the indigestion and the health-related issues. Because if you eat a lot and you drink a lot, then I think it kind of like, bogs the system down and keep it less optimal, right? So I will tend to drink, but I try to eat less. And what I'll do is after that, perhaps when I get home, sometimes I will do a half an hour run. So I will do a jog, half an hour just to sweat it out before I clear my emails. So technically, there will be all this time that is well spent, because in the corporate you got like 9 to 5, and then after that you get 5 to 7, 7 to 9. So you have this very structured thing. But as an entrepreneur, you cannot structure it in that way, because once you have a call, immediately then something needs to be done, right? So I think that is how we balance in that sense.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So, Robin, how would could you share some advice, right, for people who is interested to start up their own business? Yes.
Okay. I mean,
presuming that, let's say, the audience doesn't have any entrepreneurial experience at all. Yeah. What is the 3 good advice that you can share with them?
Okay, I think importantly, Mike, I mean, again, when you want to do a business, you must be very clear. You must be very clear what you want to do, right? You cannot say, I want to do a business. It doesn't work, right? So I think for the audience is that you must have a compelling reason or a very selfish reason, like I mentioned, a very, very small, little, minor selfish reason. You want to rule the world, for example. You want to show the world what you want to do. I mean, you want to green the country, you want to do, study little off, have this little ambition. Then you can do it. My corporate role is so tired and so difficult. Let's be entrepreneur. Then I would say, please don't do that, because you are making a decision that is based on your current circumstance. It is not a decision that you have agreed or aspire to achieve. Right? You are just getting away from one so-called one deep hole to another deep hole. You're going to get yourself into a deeper hole. When you start your business, the hole is deeper. And the best thing is that you got to dig it with your own hands. So starting a business is not something that should be taken lightly, right? So my 3 advice to them is that first, please don't make any business decision to start a business based on the circumstance that you are in, right? So that's number 1, very important. I think the second thing is that you must be prepared to slog, and you must also have the ability to finance that business, right? So what do I mean by that is that the basic insurance advice that people give to you is that have 6 months savings, right? Have 6 months of savings. What I did was I sold my HDB flat to finance this. I mean, there's a lot of things people don't know, right? I had to sell my HDB flat to finance this business of mine, right? So I sold my HDB, right? Of course, I live in another property, but because of this, I was preparing to lose the money. So I sold my HDB just to make sure that I have enough to support, because cash flow is everything. If I don't take salary, my staff has to take salary. If I don't take salary, I still have to pay for the lease and the rental, right? So I think these are a very, very key question that we must ask ourselves before we start the business, right? So I think having the financial means to support your business, to survive the business for up to like 12 months, 24 months is very important. You cannot start a business and say, okay, I'll make money along the way. It doesn't happen that way.
Wow, you are prepared to go all out.
Yes, correct. Most entrepreneurs, I guess, who is like me, will do the same. They will sell their car, they will sell whatever thing. Because we always believe in something at the end. When you believe in something that's in the end, you are able to sacrifice what is now. Because I'm sacrificing today for tomorrow.
Right.
A lot of people, they don't see tomorrow. They just work for today and spend today. So there's a very different mind in a way between a corporate and an entrepreneur, because we kind of like want to know where roughly we want to go in the next 2 or 3 years' time. So that's number 2. And the third point, I think very important for people who want to do the business is that make sure that you have a lot of friends and network, because you cannot start a business with nobody that you know. Just for example, if I want to do bubble tea, for example, today, at my age, at 47, I mean, I can try, but I probably won't do business as a bubble tea. Why? Because first, I don't drink bubble tea, right? I myself, I don't drink. So you can't do something that you don't believe in, right? So I think that is very important. Then the second thing is that if you start a bubble tea, we must look at the demographic. At my age now, I'm 51. I cannot think and I cannot understand how a young person will do. So the way to fix this is to get a teenager to run it for me. I would not go into this business on my own. So I will hire a teenage person who can think like my clientele, supposed targeted clientele, then I'll do that business.
So finding the right person for the job is very important.
Very important. And we need to know how good we are. We need to know how long our fingers are. If you know that it's not that long, then don't bother. Find someone who has a better way of success. So as an entrepreneur, you don't have to do it all the time. So you want to do a business, it doesn't mean that it must be you. So the third point is that you could also leverage on talent, on people that you can, and start that business. Don't do it on your own, because sometimes you want to do something, but maybe the industry may not be suitable for you, I see. Right? So I think that's the thing.
Right, yeah. Thank you for sharing these 3 valuable advices.
Thank you.
Okay, where do you see Agile going in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, I think we are now trying to deepen our service line. So technically, we are adding on a few more services. We currently do the standard compliance outsourcing services, like I said, incorporation of company. We maintain company. We do accounting, tax, payroll, immigration. We do scrutineering. We do sudden reporting for our clients. But we are looking in the private wealth side. So we are also looking at how we can better support the family offices, the variable capital companies, which predominantly are in fund management. So we are trying to see how we can deepen all our service line. So technically we have a broad base of services, but being broad-based is very difficult to be unique or differentiate. So we need to deepen each service line, right? So we gotten a partner who can do business advisory and do business valuation. She could also do insolvency, for example, creditor winding up, which is not a very specialized skill, which is a very specialized skill, sorry. Specialized skill which not many people can do, right? Or not many people want to do, right? So we kind of like deepen all these little thing. And as far as the geographical expansion is that, I'm pleased to just say that we have managed to open up many business points with our so-called our partners, overseas partners. So we are able to then allow our customer to have a better reach. So for example, into the North Americas, the European markets, the cities, we are able to go into, for example, regionally, we can go into Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, Australia, for example. And we are, as I'm flying tonight, I mean, hopefully we will be able to close and start up our so-called South Africa kind of satellite office over the other side.
Wow, congrats.
So I mean, I'm not sure, but let's see how things turns out. But definitely we have a reason to be why we are a world map. So that's the one of the main reasons why for Agile 8 we choose a world map, because the ambition is to be present in most of the big countries or the big cities through partnership. Because I always believe strongly in having partners and having good business partners to work together and grow.
Yeah. With that, right? Do you have a soundbite?
Soundbite,
Yes.
I don't really think so, I mean, because I think end of the day is that whatever we do, I just think that we just have to do it well and put our hearts to it. I always tell my colleagues is that you want to do things well, the only way to do it well is to keep learning and keep learning, so that one day you'll find that you have outgrown what you have known, and very soon you'll find that there is so much more smarter people out there, which then is very, very good for us.
Right.
And our career as well.
Okay. Thank you, Robin. Yeah, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.